Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and I'm a fibre artist from Scotland, and today's video is going to be my May 2024 project updates video, just taking a look back at what I've been working on over the last month or so. So this month's update video, I'm recording it a little bit earlier. Don't know when I'll be posting it, but I'm recording it a little bit earlier because I'm going to be going on holiday next week. And usually I like to kind of film these in the last couple of days of the month, but I'm not going to be here, so recording it now. But I actually have a fair amount to show off this month, which is rare for me. I find like this whole year I've not been able to get much crafting done, whereas this month it's not it's not by chance. I've deliberately carved time out to work on some projects and to do some making, and I'm really glad that I've done that. So without any further waffle, let's just get started with the finished objects. So the first thing I have to show you, I'm really excited about. These have taken me far too long, but this is my Trans Pride socks. So the yarn is dyed in the wool, and it was three 20-gram mini skeins, and the proceeds from a portion of the proceeds from the sale was going towards one of the dyer's friends who was raising money for some gender affirming surgery, which is absolutely lovely. Always happy to support fellow queers. So as you can see, they're matching, but they're not the same, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I've alternated the toe colour and the cuff colour, but with the same heel colour, that nice kind of white with pink and blue speckles, which I think looks brilliant. I did try to match them perfectly so that I would use the same amount on the foot as I would the leg, but the scales that I use, they're not great. They kind of give you a ballpark. I do have more precise scales in the studio, but I didn't think I would need like super precise scales. But yeah, I'm okay with it actually. I think if I had kind of used the exact same amount for the foot as I did for the leg, the heel colour would have kind of started around about here, and I'm really happy with the position of the heel colour, because there's a little bit more up top than there is at the bottom, which is what I want, because my kind of vision, the reason that I've done them like back to front almost, because I was thinking is, if I'm wearing if I'm wearing shoes, you'll be able to see kind of, that much. So you'll be able to see all the colours. Because I didn't want to do, pink up top on both of them, and then you wouldn't see the blue when I'm wearing shoes. So yeah, absolutely in love with these. These took me far too long to do. The colours were great, but I'm just getting a bit bored of knitting vanilla socks. I need to start picking, well, not picking different patterns. I need to start knitting patterns. I just make vanilla socks all the time, and it's been 8 years since I started making socks, and I think I've done, in that 8 years, I think I've maybe knit like like 5 pairs of pattern socks. I've knit a hell of a lot of socks in 8 years, and most of them have been vanilla. So I'm getting a little bit bored of that. Before I cast these on, I did spend a little bit of time kind of looking through patterns on Ravelry, just trying to find something. I didn't want anything too busy. I just wanted a little something. I don't think the socks need a little something. The colour's great by itself. Aesthetically they're solid, but just for my own kind of motivation, I could have been doing with just a little detail, like maybe a little cable or something. I don't know. I'm super happy with the way they look, and that's kind of what's important, I suppose. I did enjoy it. But I would have enjoyed it more if there was a little bit more going on than just plain stocking it. So that's my Trans Pride socks. Then, well, not necessarily in order, but I made this little froggy mug rug, which you may have already seen. I did post a video on my channel of the process of making this mug rug thing. I'd done this with a punch needle, which, I mean, if you're not familiar with what that is, just watch my video. I think it was the last one I posted. But yeah, for a first attempt at punch needle, I don't actually know what you call it. Needle punch, punch needle. For a first attempt, I'm pretty pleased with it. The back is a mess. That's a mess. Yeah, because the fabric that you punch onto, like embroidery fabric, I don't know if the two fabrics are, I suppose you can embroider on anything, but the white fabric is what I've needle punched onto. So I've folded that in and kind of glued it down, and then I've glued this felt on it just to tidy it up a bit. But I made a bit of a mess doing that. Gluing the actual white fabric down was very sloppy. I didn't do a very good job of that. And then cutting out the felt, I made a total mess of that as well. By the time that I'd finished doing the punch needle, which was surprisingly quick, by the way, just a couple hours I think it took. But by the time I'd done that, I was just too excited to take the time to finish it off properly. But this, oops, this is the part that you see. The back does not matter. So the fact it's ugly doesn't impact my life whatsoever. I did have this in work, but I brought it home because it's too nice for the office. This needs to stay in my desk at home. Yeah, absolutely love that. I'm excited to do more needle punch. I did make a little frog that I thought I could sew on my jacket as a patch. It didn't turn out as cute as this one. It's a little bit demonic looking, to be honest. But I also made, like, my best work friend. My thing is frogs, her thing is pandas. So I made her a little panda mug rug. And she absolutely loves it, but she doesn't want to use it in case she spills tea on it. And I'm like, just spill tea on it and I'll make you another one. Like, it was really fun. I'm itching for, new projects to make with needle punch. I would really, really recommend it if you've never tried it. So that's that. And up next, I've got baby knits. So the thing I'm most excited about this one, but it's not necessarily because it's the best one. I finally finished the rainbow sparkly sweater. I say finished, I've not sewn in the ends. But that will happen in I'll probably do it this evening. But yeah, so this is, the reason I'm excited about this is I've never done a raglan sweater before. Entirely new technique for me. And it was very, very confusing for me. The pattern I used, it was here earlier, but it's from the UK Hand Knitters Association, and I believe the pattern number is UK HA3, I think. And yeah, I kind of struggled reading the pattern. I think for the most part it was just because I'm not familiar with raglan construction, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to do what it says on the paper. And I mean, it turned out okay, but this was with help from my kind of online knitting group, the International Virtual Knit Nights. I was on the Zoom call with them last night, and I was just really stuck with this pattern. It was just when I was doing the neckband, which is the last step. I just did not understand what it wanted me to do. It seemed, the way I was reading it was telling me to knit this way and then kind of pick stitches up from here, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So I was so glad to have my knitting group there, because I read the line of the pattern that was giving me stress and trauma, and they couldn't understand. Well, I don't know. I don't think they understood where I was getting confused, because it was really straightforward. And after I kind of said what my confusion was, and they were like, "Yeah, that's what you do," I kind of just understood. I understood at that point. I think it was one of those situations where I just needed to like verbalize, to realize. I just needed to kind of, yeah, I just needed some moral support, and they were there for me, as they always are. So finished that off. It's not the most stunning garment that's ever been created, but it's fun. That was what I wanted. This is for my sister's baby, who is due very, very soon, kind of any day now. And she gave me, I asked her like what kind of colour schemes she's thinking for the baby, and she gave me a list of colours that she likes. And it was, like different shades of blue and some greys, and like it was mostly neutrals with blues. So when I seen this, when I was shopping for greys and blues, I was like, oh, that's this is not on the list, and I just think it's really fun. It is. I don't know how well the kind of the sparkle's going to come up. It's, yeah, you can kind of see it there. It's actually purpley blue, the sparkle. It kind of just looks like a silver sparkle on the camera, but to my eyes it's a bit more blue, maybe kind of purpley. Now I'm just saying blue, but whatever. I just thought, yeah, a bit of fun. The only thing is the back. The back is open, and there's like a little kind of buttonholes there, and a tab to sew buttons on. I didn't know that it was open at the back and that it had buttons on, so I don't actually have buttons. And I need to post this off as soon as possible, because, as I said, my nibbling is due any day now. But I think I actually have a shirt that has little white buttons. That would be perfect. And I believe Juno the dog has actually ripped that shirt, so I might just recycle some buttons from that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've knit the body long enough, just because the sleeves seem really long. Like, it kind of looks like a cropped sweater, which, I mean, it's kind of cute, but I don't know if that's really the kind of the goal of like baby knitwear. I just feel like crop sweaters don't really. It's not something that really comes up in baby wear that often. Maybe I'm starting something new. I don't know. It was one of those patterns that kind of says, knit until a certain length. And I'm not really good at measuring things. I kind of just go, that looks about right. So that's probably what happened there. Was it said knit a certain amount of inches or centimetres, and I just went, that looks long enough, and moved on with my life. So up next, I may have shown these off before. I'm not actually sure when I finished these, but I made some little baby socks. I really want to get like baby-sized sock blockers, just because I think that would be really cute. But this is, I mean, they're just a plain sock, except for the leg is ribbed all the way down. I basically done it's a short row heel. I was going to do a heel flap and gusset on these, but I can't do them off the top of my head. I need to read how to do heel flap and gusset, whereas a short row heel I can do with my eyes closed. and I knit these on a train. So yeah, so that's another little pair of baby socks to add to the collection. And then I'm very happy to not be working on this anymore because it was super fun at the start, but then after a while I got pretty bored. But this is the baby blanket that I made. So this is, I'll open up for you so you can see. So this is the chunky chevron blanket that I was making in the last couple of episodes. When I cast off, the ends were really starting to curl up, so I just crocheted along the start edge and the finish edge. I slipped the stitch at the start of each row. I slipped the first stitch, so the end is kind of like rolled into itself, which gives it a nice finish. But it was the bottom and the top, they were starting to curl up, so I crocheted along the edge to give it a bit of support, a bit of structure, and then I just gave it like a firm blocking. But I'm really pleased with it. Sorry, this plant is really getting in my way. It's a good size. It's not the biggest, but it is a good size. And I think, this perfectly matches the colour scheme that my sister has for my Nibblings kind of nursery room thing, whatever you call them. So with some of the leftover yarn from the blanket, I made a little baby hat with a little kind of chevron pattern to kind of mimic the blanket. So I knit the blanket on 6mm straight needles just because that's all I had. I didn't have a circular needle, and it was an absolute ordeal just because, I'm not used to using the straight needles anymore. And once I started to get a bit of weight on the needles, I really did feel like I was trying to row a boat. So when it came to this, I was like, okay, I cannot use straight needles to do that without having to then seam the hat, which I'm not about to do that. So I went to Sistrena Grena, where I bought the yarn from actually, which is not a craft store. It's a homeware store with a craft section. So I went there, and they do sell circular needles, but they had every single size you could imagine, apart from 6mm, and I was like, oh. So on that day I had quite a lot of things I needed to do. I had a lot to do in a short amount of time, so I didn't have time to go to any actual dedicated knitting stores. So I popped along to John Lewis, which is a department store that has a haberdashery section, and within that they do have an okay knitting and crochet range, and they had circular needles in every single size you could imagine apart from 6mm, and I was like, oh no, I can't deal with this. So I ended up buying some double points, which I am not a fan. I don't like double pointed needles, and I don't like wooden needles. But as it turns out, wooden double pointed needles aren't too bad. I don't like wooden needles because I like my yarn to be slippy. Having wood, it's too grippy, it slows things down. I like my Hiya Sharps or my ChiaoGoos generally. And they're super slick and the yarn just glides off of it. Then when I'm using metal double pointed needles, one thing I have is, I'm working around and then one of the double points will just come sliding out of the project and it's just an absolute nuisance. That's not an issue with wooden needles. And I posted on my Instagram stories that I was having to use the double pointed needles, and I said I felt like a Victorian whilst I was having to do that. And I got got like so many responses to that of people laughing along with me and people who were, you know, die hard team double point needle. But actually, I had a few messages from people who I don't know socially, offering to like post some out to me, which was so lovely. But obviously, it was for like a tiny little baby hat, and it, you know, this took like a couple hours to make. It probably could have, you know, other people probably could have done that shorter who are more comfortable using double points. But yeah, I mean, I got it done in an evening. It was totally unnecessary, but it was just really lovely that people even offered to do that. So I don't actually have any works in progress that I'm actively working on. I have a few kind of long-term projects that are on hold just now. Either I'm just not in the right headspace for them, or they're on timeout for being naughty projects. But I do have some exciting projects coming up. I think in my last updates video I mentioned that I was going to have to think about kind of holiday knitting. I'm not great at travelling, especially like on planes. I get super claustrophobic, and I find that having knitting, generally I'll take books, I'll download movies, I'll download CDs, I'll download playlists of music, I'll download podcasts, I'll take my Nintendo Switch. I take like so many distractions, so that as soon as I start, like, my focus starts to dwindle on one thing, I just move on to another so that I don't kind of think about being on a plane too much, because if I think about being on a plane too much whilst I'm on a plane, I feel like I can't breathe and I start to kind of panic. Funnily enough, I'm not scared of the plane crashing or like falling out of the sky. I mean, it's just the fact that I can't get off and that I'm trapped. So having as many distractions as I can is absolutely necessary. So, long story short, I've been thinking about what I'm going to work on whilst I'm travelling. I don't know how much I'll get done whilst I'm actually on holiday, but for the travelling, I've got a couple projects in mind. One of them is a sweater. I've not knit many sweaters before. I've only knit one full-size adult sweater. This is the second sweater that I've ever knit. So the pattern that I'm going to be knitting is the Officer sweater by Maxim Cyr. And the yarn that I've bought, I just bought some Drops Charisma, which is it's really cheap, which is why I went for it. It's £2 a ball. These are 50-gram balls. So I've got a whole bunch of them. I don't actually know how many I ordered. But this is kind of a mossy green, and this isn't black. It is like a very, very dark grey. I don't know if I'll be able to like put a picture of the pattern here. I don't know how to do that. Maybe when I'm editing I'll figure that out. But yeah, I think this is kind of similar to the colours that were used in the kind of official design pictures. And I think they'll be great together. And they're just 100% wool. I believe that they are superwash, but I'm surprised at how soft they are for like just being 100% wool and for the price of them. It's, yeah, very nice. I was initially looking at getting some kind of wool blends, just because I do run kind of hot, so like a fully woolen sweater can be a bit much for me sometimes. But I just couldn't find... If I found a blend that I liked, they didn't have the colours that I liked. Because a lot of the kind of wool and cotton blends, it was mostly like kind of paler pastel colours, which is not, it's not really me, it's not my vibe. I do like my dark colours, and when I seen the version that was used in the pictures for the pattern in these colours, I just thought it looked great. And when I thought of trying other colours out, I just kept kind of, you know, I knew what I wanted, and there was no point trying to convince myself that I wanted something that I didn't want. especially if I'm going to be spending as much time making it. Like I need to want the finished object. Well, yeah, I think that makes sense. So I'm gonna do a swatch this evening. Never actually done a swatch before because, again, I'm not really a garment knitter. I just do what I want. But I'm gonna do a swatch. I'm gonna do everything as properly as I can, and I'm definitely going to be working on that whilst I'm going on holiday / on holiday. But I always have a pair of socks on the go. They're super convenient, especially when I'm like commuting on a bus or on a plane. I've got a hell of a lot of sock yarn, but there's two options that I'm looking at, both by Calop Sheck Ellen, Mrs. Lamb's Yarns. They're both self-striping. This one is 100 grams and this one is 50 grams. This is called Mid-Autumn Festival, and it's 4 different colours. You've got like red, pink, green and blue. Really nice shades of all those colours. And I think this is the oldest Mrs. Lamb's yarn that I've got in my stash of it. I think I bought this a few years ago now and I've still not used it. And because it's 100 grams, you know, I can knit a full pair of socks out of this. But this one, which is called Kwun which I believe is a place in Hong Kong. Not 100% sure about that. I'm 90% sure that that's a place in Hong Kong. But these colours are brilliant, super bright and lovely. Got really nice green, like nice bright green, like hot pink, a paler blue, and then a nice orange as well. And the 4 colours just look great together. But as this is 50 grams, I will need another yarn for heels, toes, and maybe cuffs. I sometimes do cuffs, I sometimes don't do cuffs. Like 50 grams I could get a pair of socks out of. Like these obviously are 60 grams and that's a full size sock for me. And that's all the yarn. I've got the same amount of the pink as well. That's all the yarn I have left. Tiny amount, but that is a perfect sized pair of socks for me. And I'm a UK size 8, which is kind of slap bang average for men, I believe. So, so I could make a pair of socks with 50 grams, but they would be kind of short. And it's nice with self-striping yarns to use a contrasting heel colour, especially the heel, but if I'm doing the heel, I like to do the toes as well. And sometimes do the cuff, just depends. But I'm not sure what colour I would use, just because I would want it to be super bright. But all the bright, you know, my favourite bright colours are already in this. I think if I used an acid yellow, because there's this like bright green there, I don't think it won't contrast really. I suppose it wouldn't have to be right next to it, but yeah, I don't know. I'll need to think about this one. This one is really calling to me because it's like really, really bright and I like my brights. But the Mid-Autumn Festival is kind of good to go, and it's absolutely lovely colours. I don't know. I'll need to give it some thought, and quickly, because yeah, I need to have this like caked up and ready to go very soon. So with that, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this monthly video. I do have some more. I have another video in the works just now as part of my like Let's Try series, which I'm hoping to get out. It should be out next month. The project itself has taken a lot longer than I thought it would, but that's mostly due to like other things getting in the way and trying to finish off baby projects. that should hopefully be out in the next few weeks. But with that, I shall see you next time. Thank you. Bye.